Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to take a look at the 16th floor of the Kinki no Goku. We are continuing where I left off. This is the first time I've actually reattempted the Abyss since at first, I did my video set. So it's been a while, but well, let's just walk through the adventure together. Again, don't forget that starting from I think it was the 10th floor, 11th floor, the elemental effectiveness of these stages are increased to a super up level, which means if you're the superior element, you will do twice as much damage than usual. And if you are the inferior one, so again, like fire against water, you're going to do only a third of your normal damage. So do take care if you end up choosing a non-effective element for this stage and going forward. But the main gimmicks on this stage, we've got 9 times the weak point effectiveness, so it's going to do much more damage than usual. The direct damage is increased, so you'll do more damage hitting a monster than relying on bump combos. That's not to say bump combos won't be effective, it's just you'll be able to do more damage as a direct hit. Gravity barriers and damage walls will be everywhere, and basically the motto of this stage is understanding hitboxes of those blocks. And basically blocks have a little bit more hitbox to them than they seem, so make sure you're very careful about that. And hello, I'll be on the top right of this stage to go through this. To start off, make sure you pay attention to the drones in this stage, because the drones will be counting down to your death. That's 6. Once it hits 0, it is game over. So make sure you clear off the stage. The individual monsters on this stage, at least, will not try and kill you, or at least immediately. Also keep in mind that the HATHORs, the one on the top right, bottom left, those are PIERCE OBSTRUCTORs, as you just heard right now. You'll slow down immensely, so make sure you take her out as a bounce type. Now, this stage features monsters in pairs. You see the rightmost pair, which has a laser barrier and gravity barrier around them, and the ones on the left, which have just disappeared, which have nothing on them. You need to take out each pair at the same time, otherwise they'll revive each other. And so ideally your path should be hitting HATHOR as a bounce type, hitting Agni as a pierce type, and you'll clear out the set pretty quickly. Now if we go to stage 2, you'll see that the Baphomet is now there. The Baphomet on the top left and bottom right, they will hurt. So make sure you take them out before their big attack activates. It will do 48,000 damage, which is very significant. But in return, if you take them out, you will activate the boot speed panels. That'll help you clear out all the other monsters on the stage, which the other one you need to clear out is Surtr. And Surtr is important because, first of all, the blue skulls will activate if you take them both out, which of course will let you have access to the gargoyles. But the important thing is that you do not need to take out both of the Surtrs at the same time. You can take them out one by one and it's no problem. They do not revive each other. However, they do fire off the poison mists in this stage. So if you have a lot of dupes in this stage, like I have 2 Sinbads, the damage can add up if you're not careful. I know a lot of people used a bunch of Taishakutens when this first came out too. So if you end up doing that, that poison mist can be very lethal. So you may want to focus on the Surtrs before the Baphomet. You do have more time with the Baphomets. Just make sure you don't forget about them. But before you clear the stage, as you can see, those gargoyles are a pair, so you need to take them both out at the same time. That middle number is a pretty gnarly attack, so you don't want to see that. So make sure you clear it out before that hits 0. And do keep in mind, if you kill them, that count gets reset to a much lower number. So take care about that. Stage 3, again, make sure you watch the drone. That middle number is a death counter for you, but basically what you want to do is you see that top line of gravity barrier monsters and the bottom line of laser barrier monsters. Those are each a set. You need to take them all out in the same time, and you want to do this kind of W formation where you start out as a pierce, turn into a bounce, so you can take out HATHOR, go back to a pierce, and take out the last Agni. Got lucky there that I actually missed that last bounce, but up there you saw the M formation with Sinbad. That's kind of what you want to do to make sure you clear out the stage. And I guess I haven't introduced my party. As you can see on the bottom, we've got Verdandi transcended, 2 Sinbads transcended, and a Taishakuten. Now, stage 4 is probably the hardest stage in my mind. just because of it really tests how you know how you can get inside those blocks. And basically you want a very shallow angle so that you can take out the appropriate pair. In this case, the standard monsters, the Agni and the Surtr pair without gravity barriers is one pair, and the ones with gravity barriers are another pair. You need to take them both out at the same time so that you don't see them reviving each other. And you kind of want this steep angle that I had here so that you can try and fit yourself in between the wall and the block. And like I said at the beginning, the hitbox for the blocks are a little bit bigger than their image shows them to be. So you need to give it a little bit extra oomph. Just make sure you tweak that angle a little bit so you give it a little more space so you can fit yourself in there. And so having this low angle or this very steep angle is kind of what you want to do to try and make sure that you can wedge yourself in there. Now the top one is a little bit iffy because when you go at that flat angle, there's a good chance that you'll just end up bouncing back off on the left tip of that Surtr. So I think a lot more people like doing a vertical one to ensure that you get in there, but it's tough. This stage I've died plenty of times just trying to make sure I get that pair out, and sometimes it just doesn't work. Positioning is important. Making sure you understand how you can get into those channels on the bottom left and the top right. Don't get discouraged if it doesn't come naturally the first time. It takes a little time to figure it out, but as long as you understand that the block has a little bit more space around it for a hitbox, that's really how you get successful with this stage. And it's a good thing to understand, because understanding that box hitbox for the blocks, oof, that rhymes, is something that can screw you over many times if you're not careful about it. So having this stage forcing you to understand the fairly big hitbox of those blocks, it's only good for you as a monster strike hunter player. Anyways, stage 5. As for this stage, all 3 monsters have laser barriers in them, so that should clue you into saying, hey, all of these 3 monsters are one set. So you need to take out all 3 at the same time. Now, if you feel like it's too difficult, at the very least, you should focus on getting rid of that Agni on the right side, because just by clearing the Agni, you get the boot speed up panel. So if you feel like you're not having enough speed to take everybody out, make sure you take Agni. You'll get that extra boost, and you'll be able to do move around enough to take out all of those HATHORs as well. Now once you do that, the blocks will drop, and then you'll get 2 Surtrs around there. Again, Surtrs do fire off those poison mist attacks, so making sure that you take them out quick may be a higher priority than pinching, because the Surtrs are in a good position where if you're a bounce type, and unfortunately Taishakuten is not, it gives them a good opportunity to pitch in between Surtr and Arcadia. And so if you're able to do that, you're going to do a lot of damage, and it'll help you speed past this stage much faster. But I'm not as lucky, because I got that pinch where it wasn't the it wasn't the weak point. So that's a little unfortunate. And Verdandi tried to get in there, but didn't make the proper hitbox there, so she gets spun off on another stage, and so a little bit of a lost opportunity to do major damage, but that's okay. We still have plenty of time. That middle number in Arcadia, as you can imagine, is a pretty big explosion, so you don't want to see that happening. Or it's an electric attack, sorry. But we got rid of all the Surtrs, so we lost our pinching, but like I said at the beginning, the direct damage plus weak point damage for this stage is elevated quite high, so you're going to want to try and focus on hitting that weak point as much as possible, because, well, Arcadia has a lot of HP along with this stage, so making sure you're able to do enough damage is going to be absolutely paramount for this. And luckily, with Verdandi's Blast helping Sinbad take advantage of the speed up is going to help a lot. Now, let's take a look at the boss attacks real quick. Arcadia has a P spread shot. Every time it bounces off the wall, it'll spawn more. 700 per hit, not too much. There's a homing attack on the right. The bottom one has a twin laser, so if you're directly vertical against him or horizontal in stage 2, that can hurt. And there's a big electricity attack at the bottom left. Now, as you can see, I already took out the rightmost pair. They had laser barriers on them to help indicate that they're a pair. On the left, we've got the gravity barriers on them. And basically what you need to do is take them out at the same time, because they will revive each other. And the important thing is that the gargoyles are not one-punchable. They were on the bottom of the stage. Their bottom right number is lethal as well, so making sure you take them out. Hitting them multiple times is super important. Once you clear everybody out, they will drop these junk armor pieces. And taking them out quickly is super important, because if you let them perform their attack, they will cause Arcadia to haste 2 turns. Not good. You don't want him to get his super attack faster. So you should prioritize taking them out ASAP, because they also help you out in that they will delay Arcadia by 1 turn. You get 1 free turn, basically. Sounds awesome, right? Luckily, Sinbad had that weak point right in front of him, so it was an easy clear for boss 1. But just, make sure that it's very important that you clear out those junk pieces as soon as possible. Boss 2, basically gonna rehash everything in here. You got the Baphomets on the top right and the bottom right. Making sure to take them out before they perform their attack is super important. In addition, you'll see that the Hathor and Agni pair on the bottom half of the map is 1 set that you need to clear. Once you are successful in that, they will repeat it again on the top half of the map. So you will need to do this 1 more time before you activate the blocks. And this time you are wanting the blocks to go up. And by doing that, you'll be able to get yourself a little channel in which you can do a bunch of damage. And so now you got the left side and the right side of Arcadia, and hopefully you're basically trying to trap yourself in between the blocks and the weak point so you can do major damage. Verdandi unfortunately didn't make it all the way to the top, so she didn't do very much. But as you can see now, the Baphomets are down to a 2 count each, which is kind of scary. So we need to focus on making sure to take out both of them. Again, you can survive them potentially, but losing 48,000 damage in 1 shot is not something you want to do on Kinki no Goku stages. So luckily both Taishakuten and Sinbad were in good positions to take them out, so I didn't have to worry too much. Now, a little bit worried here because we're down to 5 turns now, 4, and we still have almost more than 2/3 of our health left. Okay, luckily Verdandi got there in the end. But this is running pretty close. A little bit scared. Want to at least guarantee I do some damage there. Luckily got the sword to do extra damage. Was able to get a few more hits on the weak point as well. And yeah, I mean, a little bit scary for sure. But this should be enough, avoiding the switch panel so that we can guarantee access to that weak point. And luckily we're able to clear before that big attack happens. Oops. There we go. Boss 3. We're going to move on to the last stage, and as you can imagine, we're going to see this very complicated version. The left with the laser berries are 1 set. The ones without them are on the right side. They're another set. You need to take out each set at the same time to make sure that they don't revive each other. Unfortunately, my party is a little bit weird for this, because this definitely has Pierce types in mind, and Pierce types were of course the prevailing party when this first came out, but with Sinbad's Transcension he gets a little bit more stronger. But we need to make sure to clear out these Agnis without taking advantage of the weak points, right? And we need to do that in the same turn so I can fit ourselves up there, nudge ourselves in with that Surtr. There is some space in between the the corners of each Surtr so that you can fit yourself in there, like that on the top left. It is hard to take him out without getting that wedge. So Taishakuten, of course, she's made for this stage. And yep, luckily we got through the Agni. switching into a bounce type, and then nudging ourselves in the corner to take out that pair. Once you do that, 3 Hathors come down to the stage, and you need to kill all 3 at the same time. This is where being a bounce type is actually helpful, because with Sinbad's strike shot, everybody's already a bounce. You're able to take out all 3 at once, and we are able to go to the last stage of this boss, where the box will go down. Arcadia will move to the bottom of the stage, and we'll also see some junk show up. Now again, follow the same rules as before. Make sure you take out the junk as soon as possible, and it's actually much more important in this stage because the amount of HP that Arcadia has in this stage is pretty crazy. It is up there, so you don't want to get too confident that you'll be able to take everything out, because the amount of extra damage you need to do on this stage is high. He just has that much more HP, so you don't want him to be hasted by his armor, so that the death counter in the middle comes much faster. Almost think you're guaranteed to lose if that happens. Taishakuten strike shot, I wanted to make sure I hit the junk on the right first, because you know, that follow-up shot will make sure that it takes it out. Luckily, I was on the correct side of the weak point, so then I was able to do almost 25 million damage in total, including that strike shot. So you know, that's great. That was a really bad shot. Not sure what I was trying to do there, but basically you want to make sure you hit the weak point over and over. Verdandi is in the perfect position to do that, and you know, I'm always never sure if I can do that perfect vertical shot. Looks like this was good enough, because I think almost every swish against Arcadia ended up hitting the weak point for 30 million damage. And with Sinbad's strike shot, perfection. So good enough to clear 16. Again, making sure you understand the hitboxes so that you can fit in them basically to do the damage necessary. Knowing how to switch between pierce and bounce, finding the right path, very important. And the reward for 16 is that Miracle Man, which will come in handy probably for the Kinki no Goku, except for the last 5 stages. They're intense. Yeah. So thank you for watching. Look forward to the next Kinki no Goku video, and until then, bye bye.